Everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I have watched episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is very much an aftermath episode. This is dealing with the crazy thing that the last episode ended with, and this is also very much a setup for the big finale. So a lot of this episode is talking and kind of like finally confronting things that have been built up, but it's pretty light on action. There's really only one major action scene to talk about, and it is at the very beginning. So let's just try to cover everything that we can here. So basically, right after the new Captain America, John Walker, went crazy and he killed that guy with the shield, he's running away and he's like, why did they make me do that? And you can tell that not only is he over the edge now, but he is just free falling into madness and anger and rage, and we're gonna see that play out a little bit more throughout the episode. But basically, Sam and Bucky confront him here, and they're like, hey, you gotta give me the shield. You gotta, look, they try to talk him down. Sam does that. He's good at that. That's kind of his thing, which is probably the responsible thing to do, right? Like, he's like, hey, if we talk about your record, if we explain the situation, we can probably prevent you from getting court-martialed or whatever, right? And that's pretty much what happens. But they have a huge fight, and there are several times during this fight where John Walker almost kills Sam, like in the exact same way. He brings the shield up, and then he gets saved at the last second by Bucky. And but Sam does pretty good. He's the only one in that room who's not a super soldier, but he uses his wings and he's able to like trip him up and attach him to a wire and drag him across the floor, and he does pretty damn good. So that just kind of shows like Sam doesn't really need the serum, not like John Walker felt that he needed the serum. Sam doesn't really need that. Sam's kind of very capable, actually. Anyways, so basically they do end up beating him up. In fact, they break his arm, which was kind of like oof. Anyways, but he gets back up because he's all pumped up on serum, and they have to keep on fighting him. But eventually they get the shield away from him, and they don't show John Walker getting arrested in that moment. They kind of just cut away to later, but we do see later on John Walker, it's all over the news. And my thing is, I thought that the government would try to like put like a media spin on this and say like, something, the guy was a bad guy, and something, but no, they kind of just like outright be like, all right, you're stripped of all your privileges, you're stripped of all your authority and the title of Captain America. And they even take away like his all his retirement stuff, all his military benefits that he would get. And look, I come from a military family, so that's a big deal. That's like, you know what I mean? Like his life is basically fucked now. But he's not going to jail. In fact, they just kind of ask for the shield back, which he does not have. Sam has it now. And then he gets approached by a new character, Val. She has like a long, complicated name, but we're just gonna call her Val. That's what she said in the show to call her. And I think that I've been on the Sharon Carter is the power broker train for a while, and I still kind of am on that train. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this new character, she's pretty mysterious, and she talks about like, oh, I know you don't have the shield, and she seems to know things. And she hands him a business card that's all blank. So I would not be surprised if she turns out to either be the power broker herself, or she's part of something else. There's rumors of I think they're called the Thunderbolts, which is basically General Ross's his own Avengers type team. I wouldn't be so surprised if John Walker ends up joining that team after this, and he's not Captain America, and he takes on his new moniker as US agent and all this stuff. If she's part of all of that. I'm sure people who read the comics already know who this lady is, but I have no idea who she is. Anyways, so that's basically where we leave off with John Walker. And you kind of, no, not yet, actually. No, we see he goes and visits Lamar's family. That's right. And they're like, you got the guy who did it, you did justice by this. And you can kind of see he's like kind of seething with rage because he knows it's a lie. The guy he killed was not the one who did it, even though that's kind of what he's been telling everybody. So I think that John Walker is still going to end up trying to go out and, you know, he was very like, I am Captain America, you know, even though everyone's like, no, we're stripping you of the title. It's like, you know, he's lost it. So I can definitely see him coming back, trying to hunt down Carly, and they're gonna have to confront him again, because I definitely don't think that this is it for him in the show. He's gonna show up in the finale trying to take her out one last time. Anyways, so that's basically where we see the last of John Walker for this episode. Now, Sam and Bucky, they're basically told that, hey, the government's here. We're gonna, you know, Carly and the rest of the group are gonna go further underground. They're gonna go into hiding now, especially after the just crazy public, like, you know, murder that happened in front of the world. They're going underground. No one can find them. No one knows where they're at. So they're basically just told to go home. Just like, all right, go do your stuff. The government's got this handled, right? Which, you know, okay, sure. And so pretty much the rest of this episode is Sam and Bucky dealing with everything else at home. You know, Sam and the boats and his sister and Isaiah Bradley, they go visit him again, or at least Sam does. And you know, we get the rest of Isaiah Bradley's story, which I'm really glad we did. I was kind of hoping for a flashback. I kind of wanted to like see it, but he tells us the story of essentially like, yeah, there was a lot of us that were experimented on, and some of them got captured. So I broke out of the testing facility where they had us at, and I saved a bunch of people, but of course they just sent me to jail because they, you know, they didn't want the word to actually get out, you know, about all the experiments and all of our stuff were evidence, and they were trying to get rid of the evidence, you know. And it's, you know, it basically, he just ends it with the pinpoint of like, look, the world is not going to let a black man be Captain America. And then he says any self-respecting black man would not want to be Captain America, which is, you know, Isaiah Bradley's very much like the super cynical, bitter guy, and he deserves to be, right? Like anyone would be, after all the shit that he went through, right? But this kind of puts Sam in this position of like, he has the shield now, and he's kind of flipping the script of like, I kind of want to take up the mantle, especially after seeing what happened when I didn't take the mantle. You know, everything with John Walker and all that stuff, he kind of feels responsible for, because it's like, none of this would have happened if he had just kept the shield, which in a sense is true, but he was doing what he felt was right at the time, you know. But now he's kind of rethinking things, and here's Isaiah Bradley saying like, you know, they're never gonna let a black man be Captain America. And I'm sure we're gonna see this play out in this final episode, you know. So it's very interesting. But later on, we basically get this thing with his sister where she says like, are you really gonna let Isaiah Bradley get in your head? You know, you gotta make your own decisions and all that. And so he basically ends it by training with the shield and kind of accepting that like, I'm gonna take up this mantle. So I'm sure that by the finale, he's gonna be full on, like have the stars and the, you know, all the thing, right? He's gonna be full Captain America by the end of the last episode here, which is really like the major point of the show, is to like cement his position there. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, so after Isaiah Bradley happened, and we see a little bit of his grandson also, and I know he's supposed to be a young Avenger. I'm sure he'll come back into play, and I'm sure we haven't seen the last of Isaiah Bradley. I hope we do at least get like a little moment with him, like maybe he's watching the news and he sees Sam in the full Captain America costume, and maybe he kind of changes his mind a little, or at least lets out like a, look at that, Black Captain America, it happened, you know, something. That would be cool. I want more Isaiah Bradley is what I'm saying. Anyways, so Sam goes back home and he tries to fix the boats, and he's there for a little while. They call in favors from the neighbors, and we get all these really nice moments between the family and his sister, and then him and Bucky kind of team up for a while, and he sticks around, and Bucky even like kind of flirts with his sister a little bit, and they have a couple of moments where Sam gives him a look, and then Sam's like, no flirting with my sister. He's like, yeah, okay. So that might be a thing. I'm sure the internet's gonna have fun with that. And then Zemo. We see Zemo back at the at Sokovia, this big monument, and Bucky's already there, and he's got a gun, and they kind of have this standoff, and he pretends like he's gonna shoot him, but then the gun's empty and he took all the bullets out. And then we see the Dora Milaje show up, and basically he's giving Zemo to Wakanda. Interestingly enough, they then say, oh, we're gonna take him to the Raft, which the Raft is owned by the UN, right? Like it's like an international prison, I think. So it's interesting that Wakanda didn't take him on their, I guess they're kind of working with the world now, but it feels like before Wakanda, they would have just taken him to a Wakandan prison, and he's never going to escape from there. But I guess the Raft is a much more easily escapable place, because Zemo's definitely going to escape at some point. So there you go. So that seems to be it for Zemo for this show, unless they show like one final shot of him like, oh, Zemo escaped from the Raft, which they could do that. It'll be like a small 2-second thing of like Zemo will return, So yeah, there we go. We get like a pretty nice moment. I thought for sure Zemo was about to say a couple of words, because he was kind of talking to Bucky about like, oh, you know what you got to do about Carly. She's too far gone. Do what's necessary and all this stuff, right? Basically trying to like, you have to kill her, right? She's a super soldier. Interestingly enough, Zemo even said like, I've decided I'm not gonna kill you, Bucky, right? So it's like, as against super soldiers as Zemo is, he's definitely, he seems to have a soft spot for Bucky, right? He's like, okay, Bucky can stay a super soldier, fine, and I think it's because he thinks he can get Bucky to kill people, like he do what's necessary kind of thing. So I think that's, I don't know, it's just interesting that even Zemo, even with all of his like, he smashed all those vials of the serum, and he's like, he seems to be very, have his code and all that. Even he will make an exception with like, no, but Bucky's cool, right? So I don't know, it's just interesting to think about. He's not exactly, I don't know if that makes him a hypocrite of his own code or what, but like, it's just interesting. Also, we get another very interesting moment with Sharon Carter. Okay, so here we're going back into this. Okay, so like I said, I'm very much, Sharon Carter is the power broker, conspiracy believer, right? Like, I feel like we have more than enough evidence, and we got some more this episode. We see Sharon Carter on the phone, and if you watch the subtitles and you can hear him speaking French, she's on the phone with Baltrock, the Leaper, right? The guy we saw in the first episode and we saw in Winter Soldier. And then we see Baltrock with the Flag Smashers saying like, oh, we hired some outside help or whatever. We need some help to take out Sam or whatever. And then he shows up and he's just like, all right, I'm here to kill the Falcon. So it's like, was he hired by Sharon to kill the Flag Smashers because she's actually the power broker? And now he's just pretending to work with the Flag Smashers? Or is Sharon secretly working with the Flag Smashers? Like, if she's not the power broker, maybe she's working with the Flag Smashers. It's interesting, but definitely something, like, she's playing some kind of angle here. Either way, she hired him, and then he shows up to help the Flag Smashers. I have a feeling that he's secretly there to kill them. But he's gonna like play along until the right moment. They're all super soldiers, right? So it'd be kind of difficult to outright try and kill them. So I don't know. Sharon Carter is definitely playing an angle, and she didn't call Sam or Bucky. You know what I mean? If she's like super innocent, she would have called Sam or Bucky and been like, oh, hey, I know where they're at because I just hired Baltrock the Leaper to go visit them. No, nothing. So I'm telling you, she's up to something. If she's not the power broker, then she's somebody. Something's happening here. Anyways. Last thing, Torres shows back up. And, he's the one that kind of tells him, like, hey, the government's here, and we're never going to find Carly, so just chill out while you can. And he keeps Falcon's broken wings. They got all smashed up and torn off in the fight with John Walker. And I had Wikipedia'd Torres a little while ago, and apparently he's supposed to become the Falcon, or at least a Falcon. So this is probably the beginning of that. He's gonna show up somewhere, if not this last episode, with those wings on, all fixed up and stuff. So that's pretty fun. Also, so this final like shot that we're getting, it's the GRC or whatever, the organization that just fired Captain America. They're trying to vote in this big bill that will essentially like put everything back to normal, which is essentially kicking a bunch of refugees out of countries and trying to reestablish borders and bring everything back to the way it was before the blip, right? Which is obviously what the Flag Smashers are against. It's like, you know, it's effectively making the world worse for a lot of people, you know, for the sake of, I don't know, normalcy, I guess. It's a very complicated issue. I'm sure economics plays a lot into it. But anyways, they're about to like pass this bill, or vote on it at least, and we see a lot of like some of the security say like, oh, one world, one people, and they're like whispering it to each other. It's very Hydra-esque, you know, because the Hydra had that whisper thing, like, hail Hydra, you know. So there's definitely some more, you know, not so subtle mirroring going on here of you know, is the Flag Smashers essentially now a Hydra thing? Because they even make that comment of like, oh, we're everywhere, and she like pings her phone and a bunch of people react to it. So it's like, are they, you know, a sort of, not, you know, not that their ideology is anywhere close to what Hydra's was, or maybe it is, I don't know, but you know, but at least in the sense of like they're seeming somewhat kind of like Hydra a little bit, at least a tiny bit. I don't know, they're definitely like putting in these things to make you think of Hydra, you know, the whispering of like one world, one people, and then like secret things are happening, and they're gonna, they pulled some kind of alarm in the room, and you know, I don't know if they're gonna try and blow up the building or if they're gonna just attack the building or what, but they're like, oh, we're not gonna let that vote happen. So anyways, that's basically where we end this episode. Sam is training with the Shield. You know, Bucky is, you know, they kind of had this long discussion of like, you know, he needs to find these people and apologize, or at least explain the situation, which I imagine that the father of the guy he killed from that first episode, I imagine this is where that's going to come back into play. He's probably going to go to that guy and tell him the truth about his son, which that's bound to be a heartbreaking scene, because I mean, how do you even tell someone like, hey, I know what happened to your son, I killed him when I was under mind control. Ooh, that's gonna be a conversation. Zemo is at the raft, and I'm sure we'll see him at least one last final time for a tiny bit. John Walker, I think, is probably gonna call whoever this Val person is, this mysterious person, and he's definitely gonna try and go fight Carly. He's probably still looking for her, because he's, you know, even though he's not officially Captain America, he's still like, he's all crazy. He's like, oh, I'm Captain America, you know. And yeah, that seems to basically be where we're at. The Flag Smashers are attacking this is it GRC? I might be wrong, I don't know, I need to pay more attention. Whatever this organization is that's having this big vote, and yeah, that's basically where we're at. We're set up for this big finale. I think it might be another hour-long episode, and I'm glad that we got a lot of this stuff out of the way. If, you know, this episode really feels like it's cemented Sam and Bucky's friendship, you know, and even kind of like put little hints to like, you know, Bucky might start flirting with Sam's sister, which is, it's always a funny dynamic because it's like your friend's sisters. It's kind of funny, you know, and it feels like it wrapped up a lot of things that were still left on the table, and it set up the finale, and it feels like it's, you know, all it really has to do now is have like a pretty action-packed like thing where they're fighting the Flag Smashers and they're fighting John Walker, and I'm sure that's all going to get involved. I would love for the Dora Milaje to come back into this somehow. It doesn't really seem like they will. It seems like they kind of got what they came for, so they might be done with the show really. Oh, and they gave Sam a mystery Wakandan box. I think it's going to end up being a brand new vibranium set of wings. I think that's what's going to end up happening. It's vibranium wings or something. That makes sense. He needs wings. I mean, he left his wings there, and I can't imagine he doesn't have wings for the last giant fight of the show. But yeah, pretty good episode. You know, I can see some people being disappointed, like, it was a lot of talking, but it's like, this is character stuff, this is story stuff, you know. Like, I really liked all this, everything that happened. It felt like it built up appropriately, and we are, you know, we're ready for like the big showdown, and it's bound to be action packed. So, like, there's a lot of players on different sides that are all probably going to be fighting each other, and yeah, pretty cool. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.